couldn't ask for a better coordinator. All 6 kids. A lot better demeanor.
Okay, we're going back in session. September 9th. And what we're going to do, for the ones that don't know, what we've been doing is I'll have you go across there, and I want you to read the account number on that. Okay? Then go all the way to the request of budget. You don't have to read anything in between, just the account number and the request of budget. If it went up, I would like to have an explanation. When you get to the bottom of that page, and a lot of it's going to have multiple pages, I'll ask the council, as I've been doing, if there's any more questions on this page before we turn this page. That way you don't have to keep flipping back and forth or just get confused. Because there is multiple, especially on the sheriffs. There's multiple stuff to do. And then in this meeting, what we've been doing before was, and I'm going to open it again, if the council wants to make a motion, we will accept motions. Which we've been doing. And if there's no further questions, so forth. That's good. Okay, we're going to start with.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Is this on back here? There we go. I think we're on now.
You're on.
All right. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Let's see. So let's start then with account 11108. And I believe that's the same. Should I just keep going? Or do you have questions?
Keep going.
11310, 47,456. 11312, 39,749. 11414, 43,352. 11501 is 42,370. 11704 is 42,370. Let's see.
I'm going to hang tight there for just a second.
Good, yeah.
Those, I think we dealt with before on those. That one there is just a little bit different. I believe that's increments.
That was my understanding.
Yeah, those two, that one there, and there's one prior to that, but those are increments.
Yeah, I think the 11414 is up about $35 or something. And
Yeah.
the last one I spoke about is up around 230 or so, something like that. But that's my understanding, yeah.
Thank you.
And then we have 12011 is 2,500. We have 13100 is 150. 213600 is 1,000. 21000 is 5,000. And we have 31200 is 3,800. Any questions on that? Let's talk a little bit. That's the postage.
Yeah, postage.
Which has increased, I think, because the government has increased the postage rate. Then we have 31300 is 250. 31405, that's recording equipment courts, and I'm not seeing a number under the 26
I
request.
see nothing, 24 to 26.
Continue?
Yes, please.
Right, 32,400. Yeah, I'm not showing anything there as well.
Okay, so you deleted that one out of the budget?
Equipment service contract added.
Okay, because there's nothing requested on 32,400.
Right, there was 1,000 last year, this year's blank.
There's 1,024, 1,025, and nothing on the requested in 26.
Is that the
Equipment service contract.
$2,200 for the subscription? For the recording equipment?
Well, it's blank, and that's equipment service
I
contract.
think that was paid out of county general, and they went with the 3-year contract, and that wiped that out. So,
Oh, okay, that's.
yeah, they did circuit, Superior 1, Superior 2, you guys did a additional out of county general to pay for, I think, a 3-year on the Odyssey and in the recording equipment.
So it's all being paid together then? Another-
And that, this would be this,
So,
no,
we just started it, and we were gonna, every court was on a different renewal for those contracts, and I think we were gonna try to get them all in the same cycle. Will that happen in a month? It did.
No, we're still on to renew it around the same, super like to the same.
So I think that's why that line could possibly be zeroed out, because the contract should be for 3 years.
thank you.
All right, 35,200 is 1,550, that's up a little bit. Which I can explain. Any questions on it?
Question on this one? Okay, next one.
Okay, and then we have 37,000, 700. 37,100, 600. 37,401 is 1,000. 39,400 is 800. Let's see. And then 44,200 is 2,200.
That's a new line there.
It appears to be. It's account description of equipment.
That's the,
Is that the recording?
that's the recording.
The new, okay, we had to upgrade the recording equipment. I think all 3 courts had to.
Yes, so that's the new number.
I think it's because our old equipment was outdated. And they required that to be upgraded.
This
Be
is just,
compliant.
sorry,
That's okay, sorry.
this is a one-time, then,
It's gonna be every year for 3 years, it's a subscription to the license. And you have to do it for 3 years. Once you do it for 3 years, then you'll own it.
I believe that's the one that you guys went with.
Yes.
Yeah, it's software.
Is that why that's a different line?
Yes.
comparing courts?
Course, and like court reporters, seem like some courts require there's, you've got a court reporter, a deputy bailiff, and then you got maybe the next one was one court reporter, and then another court has 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, I mean, I will say that all my staff are court reporters. How we've got these labeled here, so I'm not sure that that's the determining factor.
They're just sort of labeled differently.
Yeah, I think so, but all mine are considered to be court reporters by me, and they're all, I cross-train my staff, so that when I have somebody down, sick, or somebody out, or on vacation, I've got people that can come in and take over doing all the tasks, so if I'm short-staffed, I'm really not, I mean, I'm short-staffed, but I got people that can cover without me having to bring other people in and ask them those things. So I've done that for efficiency's sake over the years, to try to cross-train people. So anybody can be a bailiff, anybody can be a court reporter, anybody can do the civil court reporting, anybody can do criminal court reporting. Everybody has a designated task, but then if somebody is absent, then we are able to cover for each other effectively. So, but I wouldn't get caught up in the labels, Mr. Smith, I think that's the reason. But in comparison with why the other courts' budget is so much higher than mine, you'll have to ask them.
Oh, okay,
I don't know.
I was looking.
I don't ever compare it, my budget to anybody else's, I just try to
I thought maybe.
operate more conservatively as possible and keep the numbers down as best I can.
Right, I'm just trying to get a better idea of some of these job descriptions and what they are.
I will say that the reason for 35,200 going up 150, just so you guys know, is the court, I think I mentioned it last time, is that our copy machine in the courtroom, we haven't had one really work very well for years, and I finally broke down and said, we've got to have that function, because we had some big trials coming up and stuff, we have to be able to function in the courtroom without having to run in and out of the back office. And so instead of coming to the council and asking for additional money to buy a $3,500 copy machine, I just simply took it from our bail agency fund. But the additional $150 there is just for additional copies that are required by retail, so per copy. So it's an estimate as to what additional money it's going to cost us to make those copies. Is the reason it's up a little bit.
Answer your question. Yeah, I'm just trying to get that. But thank you.
Got any questions? You guys good?
Yes.
Good. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
Okay. Good for you.
All right. I listened to the instructions. All right. 1-1, but I didn't bring my glasses. 1-1-1-0-8, 5,000. 1-1-3-10, 184,582. 1-1-4-1-7, 4-5-3-1-8, 1-2-0-0-4, 4-0-9-5-0. The 1-2-0-1-1, 3,000. Special, 1-3-100, $25 down from 300. Pettit jurors, Pettit and, well, 1-3-600. Pettit jurors, it says I expended 58.57, and 13,601 jurors, I budgeted 5,000 down from 10,000 last year. And the reason is there was a statute created, and I sent it to your attorney. Now it's probably been 2.5 years ago. And if you look at historically how much money is going in there, it's going to be about 12,000 a year, and that can only be used for juries. So, and it's a shall pay from that fund. So I realistically figured that I'm going to be able to cover my juries with the 5,000, and I'm guessing about 6,000 in that fund. It's a dedicated fund that can't be used for anything else.
So the one right above that, the 1-3-600, you're requesting nothing, correct?
Well, Pettit jurors, I don't know why, it's the same thing. I don't know why the expenses came out of Pettit at it, maybe it was a six-person jury.
It may have been just an error in coding on the
Yeah.
claim. That
So-
they put it under that instead of 01, we paid it out what the line was that they
Yeah.
requested.
And I've got two more jury trials, at least two, so that's gonna go up. Office supplies, 21,000. Let's see here.
That would stay the same.
Same, yes. I don't know why, 21,700, I don't do chemical testing.
I think that was a fund that had a location code, and your location code used into it,
Okay,
and we took it out, but it's just showing you. It's not something he could spend.
3,200 postage, same, 6,500. 3,130, 100. I do not collect travel. I don't. That $100 is simply in case my staff is going to, they have to go someplace for training or something. I don't turn in mileage myself. Well, 3,1405 is recording equipment. And I
That
think
would be requesting that.
right. Because I think that was paid for out of the general by you
Yeah.
guys.
We did an appropriation for all three courts for the recording equipment and the contract that Judge Nyberg presented. So each one of them, what they needed in their budget to cover their portion was put into their individual budget. But it, like Katie said, it's a one-time payment for the contract for 3 years.
37401, 3,000. 38300, 200. 39400, printing.
That would be better.
I went down to 100. I went down by $400 to 100. I think I can get away with that because I ordered a lot of stationery and stuff this year and paid for it. So I feel like next year I can get by, and then the following year I'll have to ask for some money. I'm just trying to make this year as easy as possible. New equipment, let's see, 43101, 2,500 down, 500. Law books, 45000. I dropped another 1,000. I think I dropped that by 9,000 maybe since I took office, because I do everything digitally and I try to get rid of books as much as possible. I know I dropped my budget this year by $7,175. I think I've done that every year. To answer Scott's question too, each court is different. Like, I have a volume court. I probably am the only person with a clerk to answer the phone, but I process 1,500, 2,000 speeding tickets a year, small claims, and while those don't take much time, people call, and they call with questions, and so it's volume, which is the difference. That's why I have to have the people I have to have. I still do, I think I do most of them. I do almost all the drug and alcohol as far as F5 and below. There are exceptions to that, obviously, but, so that's the reason why you see the difference in numbers. It's just, people still want somebody to answer the phone when they call and answer their question of what did they do.
Title descriptions, what,
Oh,
some courts have a description of it, different.
well, like my clerk answers the phones, gets certified records for people, deals with the mail. Then the court reporter / bailiff manages the juries and handles all the infractions. And then I have 4 other court reporters, 3 for criminal and 1 civil.
Good evening. Good evening. I made a chart that I think will help. I say that cautiously. You know, I was a teacher, so I like to do this kind of stuff. If it's confusing, then blame Ashley. And we'll get to that in a moment, but I'll go ahead and start with the lines. So I, of course, have the 4 different budgets for circuit. Starting with number 54, the 11108, 5,000, 11119, 45,163, 11120, 4,000. That is the stipend. And that's 80% of the judge's stipend, which is what the magistrate, they get 80% of the pay of a judge, and they also get the stipend like the judges get, they only get 80% just like the salary. So that's why that's a new amount that you're seeing. 11310, $44,008. That's an increment. 11311. I want to explain that one. So when we hired the bailiff position, if you recall, we added him late in the year. So if you look back at line 11119, that's the court administrator. So they combined that one and the one down below, 11414. If you add those, it would be very close to the 89,410, which was in 2024. When we got to the new budget, those were separated out to 2 different positions, and that's why there's no number there. 11403, that's Missy Craig, the office manager for CASA, 40,295. 11413, 42,370, excuse me. 11414 bailiff, 40,950. 11808, 44,663. 11904, 58,500. 11905, 43,352. 11906, 41,393, and that, I'll explain in a moment why there's the difference there on that chart through the magistrate position. 12000, I think Martha indicated that maybe was not supposed to be on there.
That was one of those, where they did a fund and they put your
So that's not on.
location, so it's not his.
Okay, and then 12011, that's the stipend we were told to put in, so it's 3,500. 13100, 300. 2,000 or 21,000 is 8,000. 21003, 2,700. 30200, 2,500. 31200 is 8,000. 31300, 500. And then 31405 is that's the software that was purchased in advance. 37000, 1,000. 37100, 600. 37401, 1,000. 37501, 7,000. 37802, 33,500. 37803, 18,000. 39.
You want to go back to that one on 11906?
11906. Can I wait till we finish? Because that's the magistrate. And I think I don't want to confuse everybody on that.
Okay.
That goes with the chart.
A little bit far.
I have a question on 501 on the courtroom maintenance. What all type thing does that cover?
So that's going to be anything that goes wrong in the old courtroom. Plus, we have the small courtroom. So we can, we had a juvenile break the door off, the swinging door to the courtroom. A lot of repairs. I do a lot of it myself, as people will tell you.
Does that not fall in the commissioner's budget? I mean,
I think historically, the reason that was done, and this has always been here since I started, there was issues with things being done quickly when they needed to be done, so it was budgeted in, and that's where they set it, and it's just been kind of left that way. Now, that was before my time.
We bought chairs, tables, things like that.
Well, Brent Steele was sitting in one of our chairs one day, and it broke, it was 40 years old, council table, so we had to buy a new chair, so we use it for that. We did put that towards the, we put it towards the carpet, when we ordered the carpet. I think it's just because it is such an old courtroom, things have to be done quickly sometimes in there, so. Yeah, that was always, that's been there since I started, so.
Is there any more questions on this page?
And I can address that if you want me to now on the other, but.
On the office supplies, we have two lines here, and the one line, looking at 24 and 25 is no expenditure.
21003.
Rich's office.
Okay, so one of those is the CASA office. So in circuit court, there's a lot of things falling in my budget, so that's one of them. The other one is mine. What we try to do is we, as Judge Klein said, like last year, we'll buy stuff at the end and try to get a bulk discount. And that's kind of how we try to handle things as we can. But we just, I think a week ago, were able to set up an Amazon account through the county that Martha helped us do. We're hoping that will save us even more money. So, yeah, we try to buy that near the end of the year for the next year.
So the 2700 in line 21003, that is, my bottom falls under this court. And so this is for them to buy office supplies for that office and not take it away from circuit court.
You say CASA?
Yes.
And why that falls under circuit, I don't know. That's always been. Did you want me to go ahead and address the?
Examining physicians, we haven't used that for several years.
It's one of those things that we just don't know. The juvenile does something, I know the last time I think we used it was, we had a deviant sexual offender analysis done, and it was several $1,000s. You may have one of those a year, you may not. They had a kid at EMS several years ago, I think when Judge Plummer was refereeing, went way beyond that amount. So we always put that in there, but we don't know from year to year what's going to happen, so.
So Jeff, it's the same as the court orders that you get from Judge Klein.
That was what I kind of where I was
Judge
going.
Plummer, they don't have a fund, they just do court orders for the competency and all the court ordered medical, exams that they need to do for, it's just in his budget. He has a fund.
Any more questions on this page?
Recently, from them, it's been quite a bit more than that. Most recent, quite a bit more. Like you said, I'm assuming it's in kind of cases.
It would make sense that it would. They're going to have mental competency evaluations on murder cases that would be several thousand. Well, we wouldn't necessarily have that very often, if ever, but it can happen in juvenile court. But knock on wood, we've not had to do that in years. So I think another thing too is we put that in the budget and circuit. It's always been our position to go to a plan and have it in the budget rather than hit you all with a court order. But I understand why the criminal courts can't do that necessarily. It's just there's no way to predict we're going to have 4 murders in a year. So I get it, but they don't.
And they have to have two competency, they have to have 2 separate doctors who are either a psychologist or a psychiatrist due in about piece. So you're looking at almost $3,000 every time you do a competency. And that doesn't include if there's an insanity defense. If there's insanity defense, it's even more.
And that's statutory.
Correct.
Right.
The judge can't get around it.
If there's no more questions on this page, I'm going to have it flip. Okay, next page, please.
39,401, 65,000, 39,703, 18,750, 43,100, 2,000, 45,000, or 45,000. I'm going to change that up. I shouldn't say 45,000 and give you 1,000, no, that's too confusing. 45,000, 2,500. And
Can we go back to the care of patients dash inmates?
yes. That's just what we've always kind of estimated, and I know Nedra and I, we go round and round about this, trying to estimate, and some years you exceed that, other years you don't.
Well, give me an example of what that's spent on. You spent 15.7.
So,
Yeah.
Last year, we totally spent, I think, last year, we gave back to the county $18,370, but the year before that, we came and asked for an additional 20-some thousand. This year, so far, we've spent around 22,000, about 5,000 less than we normally spend during this time.
What is the line?
I just want you to know what it's for.
Detention of juveniles, to take them to a detention center.
Juveniles,
Yes.
Yes. And that rate goes up, I think annually, but as of lately, it's been going up.
It's $200 a day.
$200 a day if we have to detain, so.
Where do we usually send our?
Well, let's ask the magistrate.
Wherever we find one, right now.
Edra answered. Wherever we can find a place, it seems like Dickinson Juvenile Justice Center and Johnson County is our first go-to. If we can't get in there, it's wherever they will take our youth. They are consistently full.
As you can see, though, I think there's been a lot of effort through GDAI to not detain if we can. So, you know, there's arguments for and against that, as we're seeing in national news right now with Chicago and DC, but if you could save the money, great, but she also has to make sure people are safe, and some kids just have to be detained, so.
What was the first one you said?
Dickinson, and it's Johnson County, so Franklin, Indiana. 3 names there, but it's in Franklin, Indiana. We visited there as well. It's a nice facility.
And then your bottom line is you drop quite a bit.
So if you want, I can go ahead and explain that. The chart's confusing, we'll just drop it, but I think it makes sense. So what I've done is I just tried to compare what this magistrate position that I'm going to work very hard on is going to do for the county. So the first thing you see, the 2024 expenses paid by Lawrence County. We were able to get that information from the auditors, so life insurance, FICA for Social Security, Medicare, PERF, and then the salary. So this was 2024. The total that the county spent was $162,908.33. The next section, if you look at 2024 budget and 2025 proposed budget versus the 2026 proposed budget. The reason I'm doing 2025 proposed is because as of July 1, everything has changed. So we will not be using a large portion of what was budgeted for 2025 because of the change by the state. So the amount that 2026 that we're asking for is $45,393. And the way we come up with that, that's a static amount of $41,393 is set by statute, IC 333857, which says that when a juvenile magistrate is approved by the individual legislature, the county is responsible for that static amount every year, $41,393, plus 80% of the stipend the judge receives, so she gets the $4,000. So that amount will not change for the county. Of course, this Indiana legislature could amend that. I looked up the statute this morning as I was building this. The last time that was modified was 2004, so it's been a long time. So when you go down, this is where it gets a little confusing. The total savings for, I did 2024 because that's the last budget year that we will have used completely to be able to demonstrate this, because 25 is going to be kind of off. 2024 versus what I'm proposing for this year. So the salary, like I said, for 24, the total is $162,908.33. That's the salary per that the county was responsible for and the FICA. For 2026, we're requesting $45,393. In addition to that, the county will pay the $5,650.66, which is half of the FICA and a portion of the PERF, for a total savings to the county 2024 versus what I'm proposing for 26 of $111,865.27. If you look on the one on the right, this is the one I debated not putting in. If I ran 2025 the whole year out, nothing had changed. Her salary went this is what this represents. So her salary for 2025 that was approved by you all in the budget was $166,917.37. That's salary, perf, benefits, everything, okay? Take that $45,393, which is the statutory amounts, half of the FICA, that's a savings of $115,874. I don't know why that says, it should be 31, I think I hit the wrong one. But because as of July 1, the state picked this up, if you look at the bottom, I broke that apart for you. So the salary amount approved for 2025 is $137,635. The amount used from January 1, 2025 through July 1st, 2025, $68,817.50. Amount that returned to the county general at the end of 2025 are the next two lines. So it would be the salary owed from 2025 budget, July 1 through December 31st, 2025, $68,817.50, which would be the savings. So it's essentially half that would come back. The county obligation, July 1, 2025 through December 31, 2025, and there's just no easy way to do this. So remember, the $41,393 is the statutory amount, the static number, but because we're going half of a year and you divide that in half, the county will pay $20,696.50 from July 1 to the end of the year, rather than the full 41. And if you look down the next line, 2025 budget amount remaining, of course, was half of what we've used, $68,817.50, plus FICA perf savings from the magistrate conversion, $12,211.68, minus the county portion owed per IC 333857, which remember again is half, $20,696.50. So the total savings for 2025 back to county general at the end of this year will be $60,332.68. Assuming that it's essentially the same for the budget, it's very close. That's a total savings of income to Anna, per, that will now be judge's pension, and FICA of $120,665, very close to that for this next year. We did get a call or an email back about an hour and a half ago, actually did, from our accountant that does our 4D. I thought that only the state would get reimbursement for her cases, and we were wrong, but it's good news. So, of the statutory amount that the county pays, when she reports that she's heard a 4D child support collection, they will continue to reimburse. He said roughly 19%, so I rounded to 20%. So, of that annually, that $41,393, it's going to be roughly $8,000 that will be reimbursed that comes off of that. So the county will pay even less than what the statute requires. So it's about 120 to 125,000 savings next year, plus the remainder of what will come back from July 1 to the end of this year. If that's not clear, I know.
That was complicated, but I understand. I couldn't explain
Some
it.
people in charge helped you, right?
You don't want to try to repeat that? No.
And I'm not saying that my numbers are 100%. I think Judge Gowdy would agree with me. We think we're a little low on some of the reimbursements. So it'll probably be slightly more, but we didn't want to get into all that, so.
Thank you for doing that.
I hope it helped. I wanted to make it easy, but it got, you ever start something, the more you work on it, the more complicated it is. That's what I was doing.
Any questions on the last page or the other page? No questions? Thank you.
Okay, and then I think 56 is the next.
56 is the next
So
one.
this is the ADR fund. It would be 11206, 12,000.
Any questions on that?
And how is that funded?
So that's from county general. That is the one that used to be a grant when Judge McCord was here. She came and I've always asked for it because those are the ones that Judge Plummer and I both refer to the mediation folks to hopefully settle these cases rather than try
So
them all.
we need to change that.
So it's not necessarily a county general fund, but they set back years ago that county, after the grant ended, because this is needed, that they would fund it $10,000.
How much is this one actually being?
This one is 12.
This is
12,000.
12 on
My next one is 20.
Yeah, you fund this one for $12,000 each year, and then on the next page, the family court grant, Fund 9112, you fund that one at $20,000. And they don't always get used. There's a lot of times that they're not used. And Ashley and I are looking into that money that's left over in the fund at the end of the year then reverts back to county general and we can fund it again for the next year.
It doesn't do that now.
I don't know where the disconnect happened in other years because these have not always had these funds put in every year. This is something that Ashley and I have discovered as we were working together on this. We're still in the working stage of these two funds.
We're also fine with putting these two funds together and only having one fund that we send next year the budget down for. I think
That's a
that would
great
request
idea.
approval also, but yeah.
I think they were just separate because of the grant, and
Right.
it just kind of stayed that way.
Questions on this one?
Okay, it would be, let's see, 57, and that's the family court grant, 11119, 10,000, and 11206, 10,000.
Questions on that? Next one.
58, this is the cost of guardian ad litem, so it would be 11116, 10,000, 11901, 15,600, 12010, 5,000, 12102, 4,750, 12200, 1,933, 12300, 3,733, and 59200. That's blank. I don't know what that means.
So
Non-budgeted expenses.
they don't have to budget to pay expenses like supplies or if they do something, what do they have there?
Is it through the grant, is that what they're
It's
using?
through the grant, they don't have to budget that, and that's what that non-budget expense is.
So this is grant funded?
This is a grant under us.
Any questions on this one?
And then if I could just address one thing, I think there was a question earlier from you, Mr. Schmidt, about the designation on the orders. If you look at the budgets that we send down, and I think it's probably just a program that's carried over year after year in the auditor's office, but most of ours don't match. So ours are just all called quarter quarters on the thing, but then I think the designation and the forms are just what they've always kind of used in the past, so.
Different descriptions.
I think it should just be court reporters, court administrator, bailiff, and there would be one administrative assistant, I think, which is Chrissy, right? And supersedes a clerk, or they call her a clerk. And the rest of the leads, I think, are court reporters, and
Court administrator.
one is a court administrator, and one is a court reporter / bailiff, I think, in Super One. So,
If we can change those fundings, I'm fine with that. I don't know who's in charge of that, the auditor's office, but, yeah.
I was just trying to look at some clarification on,
I think it's just holdover names over from years past.
Is there any more questions for Judge Macker? Julie?
Mike said you have 5 court reporters and 2 judges.
Oh, yeah, someone had said, how many court reporters, we have 5 court reporters, 2 judges, so that's pretty low ratio of court reporters, yeah. That was a question.
all right, 5 court reporters.
2025 budget listed on the sheet is actually inaccurate, so this is more in line with the actual budget. What happened in 2024, I turned in a fund budget with the wrong fund number, because DOC started having us alternate from odd numbers to even numbers on odd years to even years. So the budget I submitted previously that's entered here was incorrect, and then I had to come in the council in January of this year and submit a new revised budget. So the numbers on the sheet passed around are the accurate reflections of the budget.
And this is grant funded.
Yeah, this is our DOC grant fund. We actually, they cut our funding by $20,912 this year. And that's why all of the lines after the 100 series are zeros.
I think the pages we're supposed to be looking at.
Page 51.
That-
Supposed to be this new sheet.
Well, that's what I was looking at, there, half of them, we don't have the reasons for it.
It's because the fund numbers change, so you're not gonna get it.
These fund numbers are gonna start doing this to where this year is an odd year, so it's actually on fund 9207, the current budget.
Yes.
And so next year is an even year, so it's gonna be on this 9206. And this is not the only fund that this is going to do this with. There's going to be several of them that are gonna seesaw back and forth.
I mean, I could go line by line and tell you what numbers I came up with. And 1116,
We got, do you want them numbers, or if that's grant funded, it's not gonna match up with ours?
No, he said.
this is all
Numbers
grant.
we had to put in.
Okay, this is all grant funded, so it would be this page here, correct?
59 and 60 is the pages for the grant.
What's the amounts on that? Can you give me the amounts on the next page? Does the 245,
245 and 11.
that stay the same?
I mean, it can change year to year based on what DOC gives us. This is the first time it's changed in 10 years.
I don't know about you guys, but I've got old blanks, and if that's grant funded, you got to do that. Okay, Chad, we're going to skip those.
Okay. Page 61 is our project income. And this is all community corrections user fees. I don't know if I'm going to go line by line, but basically, we went down mostly in the salary areas because we had the grant money to cover the differences. So this is no county money. I don't know if we need to go through each and every one.
Okay, give me a favor, skip these. This one grant too.
This user fees is the money we collect from the programs that we supervise.
Okay, so on page 62, 423,502, correct?
That's our budget from user fees. Yes.
I'm not gonna have you read these, read your user fee. Bill, you have a question, or you have any questions on those? Okay. Then I'll do that.
And I think page 63. So this is our juvenile project income. We've been saving the money in this account for several years until we could start budgeting out of it. So this person's, the payroll in this was previously in that fund that we just talked about, 1122, but she works more on the juvenile side, so we're budgeting her pay out of that. It's the 11514 doesn't have it budgeted for 26. 11707, the 21,821. That covers the remainder of the salary. That's the rest of it's grant funded for juvenile problem solving course. And that was previously budgeted out of 1122. totals $27,023.
Okay, I've got one except for the request. Okay, you guys got any questions for him on this one? No questions? Okay, good on that one. Okay, thank you.
Sorry for the confusion with the numbers with the DOC.
And that one is carried over from someplace else, so it's. Never.
Hi, good evening.
How's it going?
I'm okay. And my husband didn't hit me. So, I'm gonna try to talk, I had oral surgery last week, so I'm a little bit, with my voice and stuff right now. But page 64, which is my county general fund, the only county general fund I have, line item 113, I think 11503, 252,868 stays the same. Account 11605, admin assistant 41,278 stays the same. 11903, 6,812 stays the same. Account 12005, there is a difference in this. She will be paid 18 pays at her current salary, and then she becomes a 20-year probation officer in July, so then she gets her increment by law, statute for probation officer, so that brings that up a little bit. Then account 12011 stipend, that's for 6 employees. I put the part-time person in my probation user fee budget. And then 12501, 82,828, which is just a little bit lower from last year. I took out line item 210, $500 for supplies, and added that into my adult probation user's fee. And then I took out the postage of $700 and added that into one of the user's fee budgets. So it's up just a little bit, but the majority of that is the cost of the stipends and then the cost of the one increment. I think around actually got the stipends around $1,900 some dollars.
That line 12501, that went up, correct?
Yes, that's because that's the salary for the probation officer position.
Any more questions? We're never on this page. You guys, any questions? Next.
The next, page 65, this is a grant for pretrial diversion. This is the same amount from last year. We have already been awarded this money for 2026. You want me to read you the line items on those?
This one is grant funded?
Yes.
No. Do me a favor, just read the total one.
The total amount of this grant is $85,718.
Questions on this one?
I noticed that was down just a little bit from last year.
Yes, insurance will get the person not taking as much.
You guys good?
Next page is page 66. This is for Office of Support Service grant. This is also a grant that we received. It is down a little bit because in the past I did put some participants, thanks for participants that we did not use, so I gave that money back this year. So it is down. It's in the amount of $12,500, and we have already been awarded this grant also.
And this one's grant funded?
Yes.
Any questions? Do me on this one? Guys, any questions? Next one.
Page 67 is like Chad's. Next year, it will be account 9216, but this year's 9108, so that's why it's showing the zeros. This is one of those from the Department of Corrections that we have to alternate on even years and odd years. So we have been awarded this grant. This grant is for the drug court, and we've been awarded $128,139.
Guys, any questions on this one? Good. Okay, now go to the next page.
The next one is the user's fee. When participants are in the Palm Solid Corporate Drug Court, they pay a participant fee of not up to $1,265. That money goes in this fund, and then we use it to subsidize some of the salaries of the grant does. In this, I increased, there's an increase in office supplies. I put $501 for office supply in there that I took out of circuit, and then $700 for postage. Total amount, budget for this is $42,185,000. It's just a little bit of, because I included my postage and my office supplies in this budget.
And this one's easy.
It's all user fees.
Any questions for the member on this? Very good. Next one.
The next is page 69. This is the Veterans Court grant. It's in the amount of $54,482, the same as last year, and we have been awarded this grant also for 2026.
This one's 54,482, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for the member on this one?
The next, oh, sorry.
You got anything? You're good. Next page.
Next is a grant through the Indiana Sport Services. This is for also drug court. This is what pays for home visits, drug screens, and so the participants are required to do drug screens 2 or 3 times this way. If there's a cost, they do not have to pay that. The amount of this grant is $10,000. We have been awarded this grant, and it's the same as we got last year.
Any questions on this one? Okay. Good. Next page.
The next page is the user fee. This is for the non-violence, for interactive journaling. The only change in this is I did put that this is a part-time position that's also paid some out of a grant. I did put the $250 increment in here for her in this. The total amount of that is $19,950, I'm sorry. Next, page 72, this is a dog probation user's fee. Line item, there is an increment of $113.22. This is also another person who will be a 20-year probation officer in August 2026. So that, and she also has a master's degree, so that line has gone up.
And this one's based on.
This is all user's fee total. Yes, and I also increased the office supplies and postage in this one. And I also put stipends in this one for people that are in grants, because I wasn't able to put them in the grants, so I put them in the user's fees. Total amount of this is $255,418.
You guys have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead.
Increments
Uh-huh.
that are coming up in 2026.
Mhm.
I know this is user fee.
It's probation, the state,
Required.
yeah, state establishes our salary, so I have to go with what that state salary is. That's the base.
Sure.
Any additions to that, don't, like, since you're not giving a raise, if you don't give a raise this year, I have to give the increment plus the raise, but I have to give them the increment. That's been challenged soon, and
I'm not
I've
gonna
had-
Just needed to look
Yeah.
up.
And Scott has on the same.
State sets our salaries, yes. So they set the baseline at the increment level.
And then I was just curious on this, I mean, I know it's user fee on 1,200, the retirement, conservative.
I think in the past, we have been running a little bit short, so I upped it, and I want to make sure they didn't get changed, because I noticed on this too, on my budget, I have line item 11609 as 21, I think it's actually supposed to be, I have it set up. The 11609 is supposed to be the administrative assistant, but I think they're switched around on this one here. No, they're the same, I'm sorry. I just take the 7.65, and all the retirement 14.2, because I have to pay 14.2. The county does not pay any retirement for any
I was
position.
just curious.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's usually big, I was just curious. Okay. Any questions for that? Any questions? Well, good.
Page 73 is also a grant. This is the Justice Department pretrial grant. This is a grant that I have applied for that we received. We have not received it yet for 2026 because we just applied. It's in the amount of $69,000. So if we do not receive this money, then we will not spend. So that money will be, I have included in other places in my industry budgets.
Mayor, I have a question on this one. We have a wrong one.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a probation officer. We'll find another number to put in there.
No more questions on that? Really nice.
The next one is a grant. This is one of those that alternates each year also. This is a grant that was funded from the Department of Corrections. We were one of the only court alcohol programs that they were funding, was one in Allen County. This year, DOC is not funding it, but Indiana Office of Court Services did not want us to lose our funding, so they took it upon themselves to fund it. So that's a big thing for them to do that. They didn't want us to lose the program, so they're funding it this year in the amount of $194,241.
What exactly is this program?
This is the people, helps the DAP, alcohol, drug, for the case managers, and also for the person who does the evaluations to make referrals to Centerstone, educational classes, and that many can just funds for.
Any questions for Heather on this? Good. Heather, next one.
The next is user fees. This is the DAP user fee. When people refer to DAP, they have to pay up to $400. And this is the budget in the amount of $154,830. That income's included in this too. Also, the people that are paid in the other budget of the $194, their incomes are included in this.
Any questions?
Their stipends, some of the stipends, sorry.
That's what.
Yeah.
Good boys. Okay, you guys got any questions for that one?
The next one is also a grant. This is a grant from the Indiana Department of Corrections. It's, next year will be 9212, currently it's 9181, that's why you're not seeing any other fund numbers there. We have been awarded this amount in the amount of $136,457. That's the same that we've been awarded.
That was 136, 157.
136,457. That's page 76.
Got some questions on it from Brett? Questions?
No.
Okay, next one.
Page 77. This is for participant fee. We had revamped how we were doing domestic violence rather than people being placed on probation as a pretrial diversion, and they would have to pay a fee. So we've established this fund that this would be money that participants would pay.
This one is fee driven.
It's all fee driven, and I'm not sure what it will bring in, so I just did an estimate of $5,000. It won't bring in much.
Right now, ready to
Yes.
You have any questions? On this one? Good. Next page.
Page 78 is the remainder we was receiving from Hoosier Uplands, money to pay for people for counseling that were victims of domestic violence. Due to cuts that Hoosier Uplands had, they've not been able to provide any further funding, but we had $410 left in last year's budget. So, or right now, so I'm just funding that, so if we do need it, there's, I can be able to utilize it.
Good. Next one.
Okay?
Actually, you got it.
I think that.
Okay, sure, Dave.
Last meeting after 55 minutes.
Tell you what, Greg, hold on to that for us a minute. We're gonna take about a 10-minute recess.
Okay.
We'll pick back up right here.
Take advantage of it.
See, that's why.
Did all right?
Well, how are you?
No way.
Some college.
I feel old. Wow.
Met at my, it's the junior high school.
Kim told me I talked about your house. She's like, oh, his twins are, and I was like, oh, I wonder how old they are now.
Apparently so.
I got 5 cars at my house now, that's
Oh,
what
wow.
well, when they're all home, because, you know, trying to drive it, so, but yeah, no, my daughter's a senior at IU, and she wants to be a school counselor, is her ultimate goal, but she's getting her degree in elementary education, so she's got this semester there, and then she student teaches, and then she's going to go to the teaching until she gets her new master's, to get her, yeah, to be a counselor. And then my son has his associates in natural resource management, and he's now working on his bachelor's in natural resource management. Got his associates from Vincennes, and he is going through, so Southern New Hampshire University online, SNHU.
Yeah, I've seen commercials.
Yeah, it came, he was gonna go to USI, but it ended up, they didn't accept the credits the way that we were told they were gonna accept him from Vincennes to USI, so he ends up having to go an extra semester, so he's gonna do it online. So he's got a year and a half instead of a year.
So what's he gonna do?
His ultimate goal is to be a federal park ranger, and you have to have a bachelor's degree. That's the thing?
No, it just doesn't sound like.
That's his ultimate goal, is to be a federal park, but he would have to, you know, relocate, because the only 2 federal parks in the state are Vincennes, which is very small, and Lincoln.
Oh, Lincoln.
Everything else is state. And the Vincennes one is, I don't know, it's a military one, but it's very small. Very small.
So just a regular conservation officer won't do, like a DNR or anything like that?
He can already do that.
Oh, I know.
That's not what he wants. He wants to, he wants to
See
go
the
to
railroad
parks and
police, when
educate.
people go down to the tunnel, they used to stop by our office, complain, we didn't prosecute people.
We'll see what he ends up with. But there's a lot of cities that have people that work, that have natural resource management degrees, that have, because they have rules that they have to follow through the government and stuff. So because I looked at, there's quite a few different variations of possible things, not just.
What's your 17-year-old want to do?
He is not decided yet.
He's a baby, and he's just gonna kind of see where life takes him.
Yeah, we'll see, I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I was the baby, so my path wasn't straight at all.
Yeah,
we'll see what, he wants to do about half a dozen things. So, but yeah, no, it flies. How old are yours?
9 and 11, and my 11-year-old's up past me in height. So, yeah, and he reminds me like every day, he'll come like right here, like, I'm almost slower than you. Yeah, no. I can make you cry with one look. The youngest one though, I could look at him the same way and be like, what? Yeah, I don't know what you're looking at, Mom. I'm busy with some jobs.
Yeah, it's crazy. 21 years old.
That's normal.
Yeah.
It really is. Time sure as heck flies. About every year it gets faster and faster. It's
Well,
like,
that's only a long time ago.
yeah, it's like, see, Christmas gets quicker. Christmas comes around, so it's quicker every day. It almost seems like you have Christmas and then my wife's already shopping for Christmas again. So it's like,
I used to be on it and start in August, and then like Friday shop, and I'd have my stuff ready to last minute. Now I'm flying by the seat of my pants. I'm not ashamed to give a gift card. Well, it's because the kids are right.
well, yeah, that's what we're doing anymore is just give them money or gift card because the thing is you try to get them something that it just sits there.
Yeah.
And it's like, let them buy something that they're going to
We
use.
did VR headsets last year, and that was pretty much it. And I was like, it's just one thing for them to open, it's the same thing, and then they got it.
My youngest son has a very large World War II antique. It started when he was 11. And, right now, I mean, he's been like, he's got some family stuff. And if you want to get stuff, and your personal stuff,
So he's gonna have a museum room at your house.
Yeah, our home, so we have the 3 bedrooms in our second story, the 3 kids' bedrooms. And so he has his bedroom and the entire hallway area around those other kids' bedrooms, which the one child is down there, and the other one just on weekends, when she comes up from IU, usually Sundays is all she comes home. But yeah, he has this very large, like, he just got the primary son. When it was made the first year of World War II, the first year the U.S. was in the war, so it was different.
I'm Lego poor.
What did you say?
I said I'm Lego poor.
Oh, my God. And your feet pay for it?
Yeah, I'm at the point where I don't walk in anymore. I'll open the door and then I'll just tell him like it's time to get up, because I'm tired of walking on the nose. We have the car collection, this is the friction car collection, the Ferrari, the Lambo, and all that stuff. And then right now, I can't remember what we're working on for.
There was a comedian that used to watch it, he said that there's no need to follow them, just throw Legos all over it and make it, and have them step on it.
Well, then we've got somewhere he needs to go with this set, and I have a mini golden doodle. And as soon as he can go in there, he'll grab that one piece that just as soon as it goes, like, Lego, if you get on the Lego, like, I lost pieces or whatever, like, I don't know how many times I have asked for, like, piece, whatever, blah, 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 or this, because the mini golden doodle just thinks it's hilarious, because we're all like, oh, and then you go, you're like, yeah, so much great, and I'm like,
Yeah, I can only imagine how much of it, like I said, these days, I remember how much they were, when we liked it, great too. That's been 10 plus years ago.
we got walkies and gifts from
Now, are you back anywhere, or you just kind of?
Michelle.
Are you back? Okay. Okay, how's that going for you?
It's going good, I go back after my kids.
Yeah, I figured you'd take it. That's nice. Yeah, you guys get a lot of stuff.
We did, we got a lot of stuff done, and, orders, and they were like, we have to go, and my husband works from home, and then if he travels, I had to go to the farm with my parents, which was fine, they had a lot to get in trouble with out there. And now that they're mostly like one of the electronics.
Yeah, I heard you pro temp to do something a little bit there. So that's good. That's awesome. You gotta take the cover off and get it.
Well, I didn't have the time to sell
his fault, so.
That's what I'm blaming it on.
He was gonna yell at me, but
And he didn't even clear, it was Judge Nykerk, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're going back in session. Sheriff Davis, real quick.
All right.
I don't like that one.
What's that?
I don't like that one.
I could have 5 minutes if you guys wanted 5 minutes. Okay, so we'll do, page 79, it's the general fund, for the sheriff. All over, you start with.
Maybe on mine.
As
long as it says county sheriff, we're good.
Okay.
It should say location 0005.
It does.
Okay, everybody good? Okay.
We're good.
So line 11100, the elected official, 118,382, there's no change. Line 11200, chief deputy, 76,657, that's no change. Line 11300, the deputy's salary, that's all of the deputies, sworn merit deputies. It's 1,586,766. That's actually a decrease of 26,594. And that is due to less years of service for people due to retirement, people leaving. And then also, at the end of this, I'll explain too, but you can also, there's also going to be a reduction because NLCS is going to pay, is paying for 1.5 of those positions. So I'll talk about that in just a second. Line 11301, overtime for merit officers, it's 120,000. There's no change to that. In the book, I guess it says 11410. It says court security, but I'm not sure why that's on there. It's not really
There's no
a line we budgeted ever budgeted for it there in this fund. So I'll skip that one. 12011 is the stipend you all have to put in, and that is 13,000. That's for 26 deputies. Line 21000 office supplies, 1,500. That's actually, I reduced that by $1,000 because I'm moving that to spread that out through some of the self-generated funds that Martha helped us set up earlier this year. Line 30100, merit board, $1,000, and that is down $100. We're supposed to have monthly meetings, but often we don't have any business, so we just cancel them, so we don't have to pay those. Line 31200, postage, $4,000, no change. Line 31500, employee testing, $4,000, that's no change. 35201, radio maintenance, 1,500, no change. 35202, repair equipment, $200, that's no change. 35801, that's the breathalyzer contract, so that's for us to have the intoxilizer machine inside the jail. That's the yearly contract. The state says it's $650, that's no change. 3002 is educational training, $3,000, no change to that. 39100, drug buy fund, I budgeted $0 for that, which is down another $1,000, so it's actually, when I took over, it was $5,000, and I reduced it each year, and I'm just taking it completely out of the budget for this year. We just don't do our drug investigations that way anymore, so. Line 39400, printing, 1,500, no change. And then line 39402, evidence prep, 1,750, which is down $250 again. I moved some of that to some of the self-generated funds. So altogether, it's a $15,944 decrease in the budget. But also NLCS is reimbursing $120,000 total for 1.5 officers salary and benefits for the time they're at the school. So really, altogether, it's a savings to the general fund of $135,944 in this fund. Yes?
On your overtime line, you've already utilized 96,000 of the 120 that was allocated.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Are we still, I mean, you think we're on the same course there that we're going to be looking at? That's a 6-month break period, so you're looking at maybe 180,000 by the end of the year?
So a lot of that was early this year. There was some hiring freeze stuff going on, so we had a lot more openings for a while. So we've not changed it from 120,000 for a lot of several years. And one thing, if we're fully staffed, we can maintain that overtime pretty decent. And if we're not fully staffed, it's pretty easy to move some regular salary money to help cover some of that overtime, since we don't have an officer that we're paying their salary, so we have some extra money there to help pay the overtime. So it's never been a thing. I mean, we go over it every year, but it's never been a thing where I've had to come in and ask for any type of additional anything for it, because usually when we're burning through it at the rate we're burning through it now, it's because we don't have officers and staff, so we're using more of the overtime. That frees up money for us to transfer there to cover that.
Any more questions for Sheriff on this page? Good, next page.
The jail, 0 through 80 fund.
Yes.
Okay. Line 11106, which is animal control. I've cut that specific position out of the budget down to $0, which is a change of $44,550.
I have a question.
Okay.
Yesterday, I was on the square, and I noticed there was an animal control truck. So what's gonna happen to that?
So we still have to have animal control. We just don't have a dedicated animal control officer. Here's what happened in this case is, so my animal control officer was also my sex and violent offender registry officer. He did both of those things. Had it streamlined, we discussed it, and I was actually going to move him. I cut the animal control spot, and I was going to move him, because he had just taken over the SBOR because of the person who was doing it had health issues and had to retire. So he'd taken that over a couple of months ago, and he was going to do both, and I was going to move him to the jail officer position that did the SBOR. So I cut animal control out with all intentions. He was still going to do both. But then about 2 weeks ago, he got offered a job that pays $19,000 more, and so he left. So that kind of threw a wrench in the plan after I already submitted the budget to cut that. So what we're doing now is a couple of days a week on the slow days in the courts. I have a court security officer. It uses that truck to go out and take animal control calls. On Fridays, that's usually the slowest day for transports. So I have one of my transport officers are doing that. And then the other 2 days, plus in the evenings, my road officers are doing it. And then that truck, if road officer on call, another officer may have to go get it and drive it out to the scene because it's got a cage and stuff in there for the animals that we can't put in for police cars. So we'll still have it because we're still going to do the duties. It's just I'm splitting it up between a whole bunch of different people now instead of having a dedicated spot.
So we've contracted somewhere to take these animals, is that what I recall now?
So that's how we've always done it. Currently this year, we have a contract with White River Humane Society to take the strays that we collect. And then we contracted with the dog club down in Mitchell, Mary George, to do our police holds. Now we've also, while doing that, Chad, who was doing the job, he and I worked really hard at kind of streamlining how we deal with certain things. For example, a lot of times somebody calls in, there's a stray dog on the property. We'll go check it out. But we're like, hey, most of the time, these dogs wander on, make it back to their house and stuff. So we kind of give it a couple of days before. We're just not going out and snatching up every dog down. We get calls and we try to work with people that are having nuisance animals and stuff. it was after after they already submitted the budget, but I did tell the commissioners that they could probably, originally I think they were probably budgeting somewhere around 45,000 or something like that. And I had told them if they wanted to cut that by $10,000 or $15,000, that we could probably make do with the new way of doing things. But to answer your first question, we still have to have a truck to take care of animal control. I just have lots of people living out trying to spread the burden out on other people. All right. Anyway, I made it through one line. I guess 11107, which is fill in animal control, that was really, originally that was animal control overtime, but that was taken away from last year's budget. That's why there was zero in the budget last year. It was just comp time only. So again, nothing budgeted there because I don't have animal control officer anyway. So 11202, chief matron, 47,174. That's up $276, but that's only, as you guys have figured out by now, I'm sure, that's because at some point in 2025, they got their increment raise this year, which makes next year's salary a little bit more. It doesn't, not giving them an increment raise next year, but we figure it out to the day when we do it at the first of each year, so. 11306, process server, 48,485, and that's up 151. Again, that's just because of this year's increment. 11307, transport officers, 92,446, that's down $43,733, because I cut one transport spot earlier this year. I told you I would not fill that, we would cut that, so we're making do with that by, I've made some jail officers, special deputies, put them through the pre-basic and got them certified, qualified with guns and things, and give them training. And we utilize them to help with transports and things, which hurts us some days in the jail, but again, trying to spread it out to save money for the county, but still be able to get the job done. It's inconvenient for us, but we get through. 11308, which is transport overtime, 3,500, which is actually up 3,500. Last year, budgeted zero because of the overtime changes, but I'm putting this in here this year because we're down a transport officer, and like sometimes we have extraditions where they might have to stay overnight, like if they're going a couple of states away or something, pick somebody up or bring them back. And it's hard, I think it's hard for us to justify telling them they only get comp time if they're, if we're inconveniencing them that much. So most of the time, they're still gonna do comp time, but sometimes, if we only have 2 officers on the road and they have to come out to take a juvenile in the middle of the night, I would expect that they should get paid a little bit for that kind of stuff, so.
Do you plan to oversee that?
Yeah, I oversee all of that anyway, and scheme of things, yes. Yeah. And they're very responsible and they understand what the plan is, so. 11409, which is corrections officers, that's $1,102,378, which is down $56,259.
How many does that cover?
That takes us down to 25 because I cut one jail officer spot. Yes. So I cut one spot plus, less total years of service, and we spread that out. Line 11410, which is court security, that's $172,162. That's up $494, but that's also because of the way the increments fell this year. And again, I'm also utilizing now court security on days that are usually a little slower with court, taking one of them to go do animal control and some things like that too, so.
Got how many there?
We have 4 court security officers.
So you utilize them like courts, and not every day the courts are in session. So how does that work?
Courts are in session.
I mean, I know
Every day.
some, but.
And then of course we have all of the county offices here. There are some days that, are obviously busier than others, but usually Tuesday, Wednesday, and I also utilize, court security to help with some transports from time to time if we have to do that, because we are down transport officer and stuff, so. So I guess I use them for a lot more than just court security now to cover a lot of.
Kind of my rough Fridays.
Fridays are usually the slowest day over here for sure, and that's why we're able to use that as one of the days to go do animal control, things like that, so. But there are also days where every court's going, and juvenile court's going, and then, we have different problems. We have more than 4 people over here, but overall, it works out really well with how, Sergeant Cottrell runs things, so. Line 11411, which is correction officers overtime. So I had $33,000 in here, which was an increase of $3,000. And that was really due to, that I was gonna have who was the animal control officer moved to the jail spot to do the SVOR and animal control. So that was gonna be somebody else that was gonna be drawing overtime from the corrections officer line, while he did the animal control stuff. So I don't have just one person for that, but now, if like the day the court security officer did animal control and he ends up doing a mess at the end of shift or whatever, that covers the animal control thing. So that's why the extra 3,000 there is just to cover that. 12003, which is receptionist, 42,260, that's up 327, that's just because of the increment. 12004, the clerk, 46,519, that's up $58, again because of this year's increment. 12011 is the stipend that was, we were asked to put in there, so that's 17,500, which is 35 total employees, that's the 25 jail officers, 4 court security, 2 transport, my receptionist clerk, matron, I guess, civil process. 35 total employees. 21000, office supplies, $1,000, that's down $200 because again, I shifted some of that to the self-generated funds. 23502, jailer and dispatch uniforms, $2,000, that's no change. Line 23600, special deputy uniforms, $4,000, no change. 24800, inmate supplies, $5,000, that's no change. 31306, portable radios, $1,000, no change. 31500, employee testing, $500, no change. 32400, copier contract, $3,000, that's an increase of $500, but that's just because that raises to cover the shortage that we already had in this line for what the contract is, plus all the extra copies and stuff that we go over the contract amount, so that covers that. 34100, which is internet phone / cable bill, really, is what it pays, it's $3,000, that's an increase of $400 just because the monthly bill has increased. Line 35202, repair equipment, which is actually repair like the video cameras and things at the jail, $6,000, that's down $1,500 because we didn't get all new cameras in 2024, so we don't have as many repairs as we used to. We did, in fact, have to spend some money this year. Just recently, it doesn't show up on here yet, but one of the storms we had, lightning struck, and it took out a couple of the cameras and some things like that, so we did have to use some of that money. 37002, training, or educational training, $1,500, that's no change. 37400, which is inmate medical services, $55,000, that's down $8,867. And that's because the contract cost reduced. They don't work with QCC, we still are getting the same services and everything. And that's also going to be split between this and LIT, if you guys remember correctly. But $55,000 here, the total contract is $325,000, but then we also have to budget some money for emergency, like taking people off-site to the dentist or to the ER, and prescriptions. A lot of certain prescriptions are not covered by specialty prescriptions, so we have to budget some extra money on top of just the contract money. So, but $55,000 in this line is what I'm budgeting. We'll still come out of LIT. 39500, prisoner meals, $210,000, that's down 5,000. My chief matron continues to do a fantastic job, and even though costs are going up in a lot of ways, she still is providing very quality meals for really under $2 a meal. She does a really good job of shopping and getting that stuff, so. And then 39601, which is contract services, in this case, that is our elevator maintenance and inspection and stuff that's required every year, that's $2,500. That is up $100 just to cover the increase in the cost for the yearly services. So altogether, that's a $133,803 decrease in that line, or in that fund. But then if you also take into account, you're actually saving another $87,000 because of the 3 employees I cut. That's $87,000 in benefits that the general fund will be paying out. And then with the change that where I took the commissioners, they could cut money, that's actually a savings of $235,803 to the county general fund. So just between the first two funds, that's already basically $370,000 reduction to the general fund. 235,803 would be the total savings counting the benefits, and if the commissioners cut that money from the, I was gone on vacation last week, so I don't know if they cut that from the.
They cut that line to 15,000.
Cut it to 15,000 or cut it 15,000?
No, to 15,000.
Okay.
Pretty sure, I can double check.
Okay. Might have been a little misunderstanding there. I was recommending cutting it to 30, cutting it to 15,000.
Well, let me just double check that.
Okay.
Okay, he hit the bottom on that page. You guys got any questions for the sheriff on this page?
I think we worked really hard, I think, trying to save the general fund. These things.
Yes, they cut, we renamed the line to animal housing and gave it a new number. So they cut the 45,500 that was to the Humane Society and funded that for $15,000.
Okay. We may tweak our policies some more.
So as of June 30th, we only spent $5,700
Good one.
out of that.
Yeah, Chad did an absolutely phenomenal job of changing how we were doing things, so.
Chad's one strong.
Chad is one of the, unfortunately. My hardest working employee, he had, between SVOR, the Sex and Violent Offender Registry, and Animal Control, he had his plate full, but did a fantastic job on all of that stuff, so. He did
No
those.
questions on this page?
All right. Page 81, or my 81, it's the CHIRP grant, that is Comprehensive Highway Injury Reduction Program. Used to be called OPO. It's grant funded, but it's $27,025, and they've already awarded us that grant, so.
So, any questions on that? No, page number.
Just what if you don't use it?
If we don't use it, it just goes, they don't get that money to us ahead of time. It's like as we submit what we work, and then they send the money down to the auditor's office to pay. So it just would go back to the state. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, we don't ever quite use all of it, and it's also, the program here in Morris County is actually they call it it's a TI something, but basically it's us, Bedford, Olynyk, and Mitchell all participate in this program. So altogether, that's how much we facilitate it, but then like Martha could probably explain it to you with Bedford, like we allocate the hours out to the other departments, like here, you got this many hours to work this month or whatever. And when they work it, then they send an invoice in and mark it.
And it says that it's, so many officers work so many days on that, and so then that's paid to them out of 9190.
Okay, so is a lot of this like filed at the end of the year, or I just noticed?
It just depends on how they want to allocate. It depends on how Bedford wants to use it. It depends on, you know, how the sheriff uses it, because when he uses it, it's paid through payroll.
I am actually skeptical of we will see on this line, or on this, it says 50,000 was budgeted in 2025. That's actually not, that's how much I applied for, but they didn't award that much, so we came back before the budget cycle was over, and actually it was right around the 26 or 27,000 again last year. So that's really not what was budgeted. And this also shows 0 expended, but I know that's not accurate. There's been lots, I mean, there's been.
Okay, and what, tell me again what business that you can use this for?
This is basically what people call Operation Pullover. It's
Oh.
it's for extra patrols out on the roadways and things like that. It's federal funded grant.
Any more questions on this page? We'll go to the next one.
Lit 1170. All right, line 12102, which is Social Security. That is $0, which is a change of $2,500. That is because in the past, we got this fixed finally last year. But Howard was being paid, and Social Security being taken out of that uniform. It was from a uniform allowance that the officers get by statute. That Social Security was not supposed to be being taken out the way with the pay, but that was all worked out with the.
Previously, the uniform allowance was paid through payroll, so that they took taxes and Social Security out of it. And so now we do not, they actually get a check.
Yeah, that was not how it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So it was actually,
And do they have to show where they spent that on the uniform, or how does that?
They were just given that
it
check.
was, it's just an allowance that you're given at the first of the year. So that my ordinance, how many years before my time.
So it's not,
They don't have to turn anything in, they don't have to turn receipts in to get the money. The check is actually cut at the first of the year.
Yeah.
and that's why it's stapled, you know?
Yeah, that's how.
Yeah, that's why sometimes it's different.
So are they allotted a certain amount each officer?
Oh, yeah, so each officer gets $1,200, and then that has to pay, when they're first hired, by state law, when they're first hired, we supply all of the uniforms and everything. Subsequently, every year after that, we don't buy them uniforms or things like that. They buy it themselves with the uniform allowance that they're given. So they buy uniforms, the holster, things like that. They're responsible for buying it out of that allowance. Shoes, boots, all that stuff, yes. Yep. And sure none of you have shopped at a police supply store lately to see how much uniforms and stuff are, but a pair of pants are $90, uniform shirts now $85. It's just insane. Boots are $300 or $400. Truth be told, they probably spend more than $1,200 a year for this, but that's what they get. So. All right, ready to move on from that?
Ready to move on.
Okay, 12503, which is police retirement, $583,687. That's actually a decrease of $5,708 because each year the One America that handles our pension, they figure based on our employees and how much has been contributed, what the return has been, on the stocks and things that are invested in, how many years of service. So it's down $5,708 just by the way it all works out this year. So 21000 office supplies $2,250. Again, I took another $250 off of this one, moved this to the self-generated fund. 22100 gasoline $147,500. I reduced that by $2,500. Gas price has been down. And overall gallons usage has been down this year, so I reduced that a little bit. 24000 uniform allowance. That's where the $1,200 per officer comes in at, so it's $32,400 on uniform allowance. 24001 protective vest. That's $10,000 to change. 31403. That I will quickly say, protective vest is the one thing that by law we can't make them buy. We do have to supply protective vests, so that's why we have to fund for that. 31403 communications. $46,000. That's an increase of $2,000 because the rates are raising. 34000 utilities, 105,000. No change from last year. 35001 fire protection, 2,500. No change. 35100 building maintenance, 50,000. That's no change. And I said this at a commissioner meeting a couple weeks ago, but that is a huge shout out to Kelsey and Dalton for the work that they do to make $50,000 keep that jail running every year. And they fix a lot of stuff on their own and not have to bring in like outside contractors and experts because they figure out how to work on that stuff. So big shout out to them. 35803 police car repair, $65,000. I increased that by $5,000 because costs just keep going up and up, as you know. 37002, which is training educational, $5,000, no change. 37200 institutional services, $25,000, no change. That is like cleaning supplies to clean the facility over there throughout the year. It's gloves, it's the chemicals, it's all the stuff that it takes to clean. And we're usually higher. I mean, we spend a little bit more than that, but we cover the rest of that. A lot of the stuff we're actually a little bit higher than, but I keep the budget here and I use commissary to make up a lot of the differences in that. So 37400, which is inmate medical, this is the rest of it from where we budgeted in jail. It's $340,000. It's actually a decrease of $4,367. Again, the contract went down. I was able to lower it in both places. 37501, courtroom maintenance, $2,500. I decreased that by $500. Questions on that? I thought somebody asked me why I had courtroom maintenance in here.
Maybe kind of parallel.
Because I've had that question for 3 years. That is what we use, like if a camera goes down or something, if we have to work on one of the magnetometers or we have something. I use it for fixing things court security related over here, is what I use that for. 39300, which is software support, $55,000. That's an increase of $5,000. That's just because the cost of the required software that we have to run and operate keeps going up. That doesn't even come close to covering it, but I spend probably that much more on commissary money to cover all of the things we have to have. So I keep using the commissary so not to come back and use this funds.
Are you on a different server than?
I'm sorry, what?
Are you on a different server than courthouse, or how does that work?
Yeah, so when you talk, that's more Scott Nyker kind of talk, but yes, we have our own server over there for a couple of different things we have to have. Like we have one for the body cams. We have it on our own server for the CAD system, the computer dispatching system that keeps all the cases, all the calls for service, all that stuff. So yes, we do have servers over there. And the body cam one has not been, but like the Spillman one and things, that has recently been updated because emergency management paid for that with some of their emergency management. They help us out a lot with our dispatch kind of stuff, so that is a pretty new thing, maybe just earlier this year or last year. 40000, electronic house arrest, $1,500. I lowered that $1,500. That line was put in there, I don't know how many years ago, when the jail overcrowding was an issue, and that was put in there to help, like if there's indigent people that they want to put on house arrest that maybe don't have the money to pay for it. There was money that was budgeted through this to help pay for that to keep jail numbers down, but our jail numbers are down low enough that if somebody can't pay to go on house arrest, they have to spend time in jail. That's just the way it is. So I lowered that. 40000 first couple of days, they didn't charge us for it, they just did it. So usually the counties right next to us will help each other out if we have to, so. 44100, police cars, equipment and install, that's $34,000, so that's money towards the purchase of 1 or 2 new cars each year.
Any more questions?
I got one more there, 54000, goes to that next page.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bond principal, 1,500, that's no change. I think that's just the money that we have to, like, to bond me and the jail commander and the people that handle money with us. So altogether, that's a decrease of $5,325 to lit, plus I requested, the commissioners, they funded it for 2 years, and they assured me that they were going to again this year, but, we should get another $32,500, of the opioid settlement money to help pay for our mental health, which is part of the medical contract. So really, it's $37,825 of savings from what, last year, I should have done credit.
Back on the other page, you got regular answer my question, but is there any questions? For him on the first bill, you guys have any questions? Okay.
Yeah, so this would be Fund 1175, which is the miscellaneous fund. This is, I can go through it line by line if you want, but that's just $27,000 that the state sends down
This one,
each year for specifically going toward dealing with misdemeanor people that get sentenced locally that we house. So I go through it line by line, but it's not user. It's not user fee, but it's sent down from the state. Each county gets a certain amount of money based on population. So it's $27,000, we know that's what we need from the state, and I budget $27,000.
I don't think we should read that unless you have that question. You guys have a question? Next page. One more page. Yeah.
Fund 1192, which is the sex and violent offender registry fund. This is user fee. There's just 3 lines. And, office supplies, I increased by 1,000 because that took in some of the ones that that's line 21000.
But that budget, they're actually still the same.
Yeah, because I reduced the educational training out of there, because, we're able to do, there's not a ton of just required, I can only use this for sex offender type stuff, and $1,500 will cover easily the training, the required annual training for our SBOR officer. So I reduced it there, increased the office supplies, which freed up money in the general fund and things from the office supply. But overall, that's $4,000 I budgeted.
Question on this one? Next page.
Dispatch, back to the general fund. Alright, so this fund 1,000, dispatch. 11308, which is dispatcher overtime, $25,000, no change. 11802, dispatcher salaries, $507,494. That actually reduced by $3,561 just because of years of service. We actually had to, we haven't, since the first year when I had to hire like 6 right off the bat, dispatch has been a pretty steady thing, but we did have to replace 2 this year, so with the difference in years of service, that's $3,561 decrease. 12011 is the stipend, 11 dispatcher, that's $5,500. 21000, that's office supplies for dispatch, $3,000, no change. 23500, dispatch uniforms, 1,000. I lowered that by 200. 31305, printing and advertising, $100, no change. 31306, 31400, communications, 1,500, I lowered that, by $1,500. 31500, employee testing, $500, no change. 32400, equipment contract, that's dispatches copy machine, $1,500, no change. 34000, utilities, that is, all of the water bills get paid from there, $44,000, that's no change. 35100, building and equipment maintenance, $2,500, no change. 35202, repair equipment, $1,500, no change. 37002, educational training for dispatchers, $750, no change. Altogether, that is a $239 increase from last year's. It would have been a $5,261 reduction, but with the stipend that made it. So it's almost the exact same, but it's $239.
Any other questions on that page? Okay, next page.
Action report fund 1101. This is, money that can be spent toward accident funds, and this is money that we get from, the sales of, crash reports through buycrash.com, which is the state repository, so it's the money we get sent out, so. I go through it, again, there's no change. I lowered office, there's office supplies, because there's not tons of office supplies specific to accident reconstruction, but I increased equipment by $500. But overall, the budget stayed the same at $3,000.
On this one, what I'm showing, we don't have anything for that.
That would be because this was one of those funds that were,
It's not budgeted.
yeah, it was never budgeted before.
Not budgeted.
Yeah,
You see that a lot in the municipal funds.
yeah, these are a lot of the ones that Martha really helped me with their record here, so we have everything budgeted, accounted for.
Any questions on this page?
So these were things that might have been taken out of general, but then,
Yes, or, I'll be honest with you, it wasn't a fund that I really had used myself, but I think maybe in the past, that some of the money in those funds might have been getting spent, but there wasn't really a budget. And it was probably not really appropriate by the state board of accounts on how the money was being out of there. So that's what we worked on last year, is getting everything in compliance and then making it so that I could use those funds instead of just me letting them sit there. We now have it. So yes, it could be general fund if we hadn't done that.
And if they had used it in prior years, they would have just paid it out of that fund number and unappropriated line, because there was not an appropriation to the fund.
Okay, you guys have any questions? Okay, very next page. Farmer's trade.
Okay, firearms fund budget, this is another one you're not gonna have anything on there because there was never an actual budget, money was being spent out of there, but it was just like she said, that it would be an additional, unappropriated line or whatever. But we actually have set up a budget to make it easier to spend it, to be able to do it, so. Again, this is money that is sent to us each year from the state. We get about $27,500, I think. Basically, you know, you don't need gun permit in Indiana anymore. And so that was where all this money used to come from, was from the sale of gun permits here in Lawrence County. So what the state did when they did away with that is they looked at the last year for each county, and this is how much got brought in. So now every year they send us that much each year, because that was what the last thing was. I will say, makes me a little nervous. There was some debate at the state level this year about doing away with that and not paying that to the counties anymore, but in the end, they did keep it in there, so.
Do you use the range on Clemens Road, or do you?
Yeah, that's our range. No, I'm sorry, no. That's where that's the state police. That's where I used to use. No, we have a range at, out at the county complex, way up the backside of the landfill and everything. Yeah.
Okay, any more questions on this page? Okay, sure, next page.
Okay. Law Enforcement Education Fund, 25030, there's only one line, and that's training and educational.
into Fund 2504, and then out of that, they turn in their claim. City of Bedford, City of Mitchell, Town of Olytic, they turn in their claims based on the number of tickets that were written. They get, I think it's $4 a ticket. And so then, once they turn it in, we cut a check for it, and then we put the sheriff's part of it in this Fund 2503.
So there's actually more money in the budget in that fund, but I know it had something to do with the first officer tickets, but I didn't understand how.
It's based on fees that have been charged.
Okay.
Next page. Sheriff's Department fees.
2512 Sheriff Fee Budget Fund, this is another one of those that we set up this year. That's the money that we collect from, sorry, I got distracted there by a number I've seen on there. That's the money we collect from, like when somebody comes in and wants a background check done, or the Freedom of Information Act, and they want reports and things like that, we have to copy it, and we charge them so much per copy, or they want photos and things like that, we charge them for the thumb drive and the things for that, so that's where we collect that. It shows an expenditure of $150. I'm assuming that has to do with the way money was transferred over to that fund.
It was, we had some funds that we needed to transfer out and in, and this is an amount that was transferred into this fund that should have gone to another fund, so that it was moved back out of it. But because it was done, it shows up.
I got excited thinking, that's not what I didn't know that.
Any questions on this page? Okay.
All right, next page, Fund 4009, that's the Sheriff's Sale Fund. This is another fund that had never been set up for budget, and actually I don't know that any money had ever been spent out of it, other than paying, we contract with SCI to do our SRI to do our sheriff sale funds, or sheriff sales each month. And so they get a small percentage of that, but then the rest of that money goes into that fund. So we actually, Martha may be able to tell you for sure, but I feel like we probably $170,000+ in this fund now. So we set up a budget to put some money toward police car repair, software support. The contract services line in there, the 39601, that is a $10,000 budget, but that is because we have to cut a check, or we pay them to do the sales. So
SRI who also does the county's tax sale.
so SRI, the contract services is actually the money we pay to SRI to do those, and it's per thing that's supposed to sell that day. So, and it shows an increase on there of $9,500 because earlier this year when we were setting up the fund, originally we just threw some numbers in there to have a budget, and then use this year to figure out kind of where we were going to stand and go forward. So it shows an increase there, but really it's money we've never spent before, where it's actually freed up money that we had just been sitting in for years. That's not the time. I still budget everything low because what I envision with that is one day in the near future, we're going to have new body cams for the department, because it's just, those are hanging on by a thread. And so that wouldn't cover it all, but that's a pretty good chunk of money toward covering the vast majority of that. So that's why I'm really trying to save that money.
Don't touch it, is what you're saying.
Correct. All right.
Any questions on that? Okay, sheriff's donation.
All right, Fund 4104, Sheriff Donation, that's another one that's existed for a long time. There's not a whole lot of money in there. There was earlier this year, somebody donated some money because they had heard that we needed, when we got the new laptops and stuff, most all the forms and everything, the prosecutor's office and different places needed Microsoft Word and Microsoft Office, and laptops didn't come with that. So somebody actually donated money toward purchasing that for us. So that's what that is. Every now and then somebody inject just or whatever. Not often, but so it's in there.
Any questions on that?
various festivals out here. In the last couple of years, they wanted reserve officers to be present to keep people from climbing, just to be a better present to keep things from being tore up and stuff. At least one of those years, they cut a check for like $300 as a donation for that. So every now and then, there's some donations that come in from, so, you know, it used to be the school would donate some every now and then for the reserves working the ball games and stuff. So that's where that money comes from. It's not tax money or anything, it's just donations specific to the reserve. And I actually think there's like 26 or 27,000 total dollars in that fund towards it. So not something we use a lot, but we do use it to, like when a reserve comes on, they buy their own uniforms up front. But if they stay a reserve for at least a year, then we reimburse them for that. But we don't buy them up front in case they come on and end up, they don't work or they don't do what they're supposed to do. So that's kind of, that's really not all we use it for. That's
Good that you're explaining this, and you've already touched it at the home run yards, because all we're seeing is the requested budget
yeah,
with no history, no nothing.
yeah.
That's what we're.
Yeah, we worked Martha and I had a lot of time last year doing this stuff.
So we have nothing to go by. I mean.
Well, that's because in prior years, if they had used these funds, it was paid out of non-budgeted expense, out of the unappropriated line that we have to pay.
So this is breaking it down.
This is breaking it
Yeah.
down so that you will begin to see a history on these funds.
Martha and State Board of Accounts was a huge help, and it was a multi-month process getting it all done. So I think I kept coming to you for 2 or 3 straight meetings until we got it all done, so.
Okay, any questions on this? Okay, drug seizure.
You underestimated at 6:30, I thought you were overestimating. 4904 drug seizure. This is money that comes in, doesn't happen a lot, we don't seize a whole lot of stuff anymore on our drug investigations, because it's kind of a pain to do it, but, if there is stuff seized, money from a drug dealer or whatever the case may be, it goes through that civil forfeiture process. I think the prosecutor's office actually contracts with, Chris Gamble over in Terre Haute, and he does all the forfeiture, he does it for the state police and stuff too. So if there is anything, the money ends up going there, gets divided. I know the state police just called me today, and there's a forfeiture going on now that we're gonna get $700 or $800 of our share, because it was our case and it came through. So that's where this money comes from. Again, it was something that was never budgeted in the past, but we set up this budget for this. And I put $1,000 for evidence supplies in there, and that helped, because I reduced evidence supplies in the general fund, so this was spot I was able to do it. And then training and equipment, it's drug related. So this will be like equipment, that'll be a way that I can use to buy drug test kits for my SROs, for like a lot of kids use vapes with THC and stuff in there, and that takes a special kind of pretty expensive test to do that. So this is now a way that I don't have to do it in the general fund, my commissary, to help pay for some of that stuff, so.
Any questions on this? Okay, next page, riverboat.
Riverboat 1191,
He only has one.
I was gonna say, I only have the 44100, which is the police car. And that's $42,000, which is the same as last year, so. A new car, not outfitted, is probably around $45,000 or $46,000, so it doesn't quite cover it, but it's closer to cover the customer.
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you that ticket's, very picture of me. Right now, it's sitting at $120,159.
But I think that's all of them. Overall, including the stipends that we put in there, and the money, if the commissioners give the money towards the opioid settlement money. So with the savings that I cut out of there, plus the money LCS will pay for those positions and that, it's about $407,000 total savings, so. I was pretty proud of that. Thought it turned out nice.
Martha, do we still get money from Riverboat?
Yes.
Yeah.
Tilly that we've been working on. I talked to Baker Tilly on Monday. They've been waiting, I don't know what the deal is, they've been waiting on this budget. Why, I don't know. Martha emailed it today, they got it in hand now. And what I do know up to this point is they're wanting a phone conference Monday with you and I. And I talked to Katie. And, two more council can come if they want. Two more, not three, but two. I have no idea what that's about, the whole 9 yards. I do know when they talked to me, and I think I told you this earlier, that they're going to still, the plan is they're coming in and talking to every department head to look at their budget. And that was as of the phone conversation yesterday. I talked to Dan, and Dan said that that was still on the table, that they're coming in. And then, that's virtually all I know at this point, other than the phone conversation. We'll keep you posted one way or another. I have no idea what that's even about.
I don't even, and they had never requested the budget books. They never requested copies of the budget. The first I heard about it was today. So as soon as I did, I sent it to him. And then I got a request from Scott, now his name is Finley. Scott Finley and Paige Sansone for what's called a limited delegation authority to Gateway, to see what's in Gateway. I did grant them that all they can do is see, they can't change anything. So they have been given permission to go in Gateway and look at what we've been. So I've not heard anything more that they need anything else. But I told Dan, I said, please let me know. You know, he has my cell phone number, my office number, my email, and I never got a request until I was told about it today. So I immediately got it to him.
Because I actually called when they wanted to find out, because I mean, we paid that much money, and you know, I've asked Martha and Katie both for the last 2 weeks. I mean, I didn't ask you to do it, and going, if you heard anything.
And I had actually sent an email probably 10 to 15 days ago and I got no response on it. So,
And I was getting a little
We haven't
curious
paid them completely, have we?
no, we have not.
on why they were being dormant, because I mean, this is the last, well, the next one is September 16th, which is solid waste and the budget run through. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm yet to see where $38,700 has done us any good. They're gonna have to step up quick, and they're running out of time. Dan assured me that they could. But he also, have you physically talked to him?
I have not spoken to him on the phone.
That they are coming in and they are gonna address the department heads one-on-one. And that was the conversation that I had yesterday.
Is there a date for that?
No.
I can reach out to Dan in the morning and see if I can get an idea of what day he's wanting to come so that we can give department heads a heads up that
Well, I thought we might get that Monday. I'm not sure what their,
I prefer to find out tomorrow
So late, man.
before
That's a lot of
well,
stuff.
they may be all the way done with the exception of, I don't know, plugging numbers. I mean, they may have it done up to this point minus this total figures.
My recommendation, I spoke to Rick about this, is there are some department heads who have such a thin budget. Why waste money sending Baker Tilly there to increase your bill with Baker Tilly if you know there's no fat to be cut? That would give them more time with maybe some departments that you have concerns with. So if you want to make that known in that phone call, or to Dan that don't touch X, Y, and Z, like Veterans Affairs, the surveyor, Jessica Allen, like, but you wanted to focus more on a bigger budget, then that way you're not wasting your money on a small budget that's not.
So this is additional to what we
Well, see,
already
they're
committed to?
hourly, so they have an hourly fee, so if they're driving down here to meet with department heads, why pay them to meet with a department that doesn't have anything to cut?
I understand
And
that,
so,
but that's in addition to what we've already.
we have a cap on what we will pay them. The $38,700 is the cap that we agreed to pay them for their services.
They haven't given us a whole lot for what we paid them so far.
We've paid them roughly 28,000. We actually just sent the check out today.
27, it was 20 and then 7.
Yeah, 27,000.
I think that's a good suggestion for you.
Okay, so if you go that direction, and the departments, I'll call, or you can call, or
I'll call
whatever,
them.
I'm gonna do it. I started it Monday, I'll take care of it. What departments do you want to avoid? You want to avoid
The one she said,
The recorder, the surveyor, Veterans Affairs, they all have very similar budgets.
I mean,
Weights and
there's,
measures.
yeah, weights and measures, aviation,
Well, they're just concentrating on county general.
yeah. Just count,
Although, some of the levy funds, they might want to look at, so that we can look at, reappropriating levies and
I
moving
mean,
levies.
there's,
around.
I don't think they should touch Nedra's stuff, because she's primarily grant funded. I don't think that Chad Shu should be on there because he's user fee and
Chad is all grants or user
grants.
fees.
So you could limit them if you want to pick like 5 big
Probably
budgets.
the coroner's office probably.
Word's office probably shouldn't be on there. You know, you could just say, look at the top 5 budgets and name the top 5, rather than sending them out to every place to trim that that's not there.
Because it's probably gonna be easier, rather than go through these, to list the ones we want them to look at.
Yeah, I think it's easier to say which ones you want to look at and then not the ones you don't want to look
figure
at.
out what your top 5 are. Guess who's number 1?
There's no fat there.
Well, I mean, if we can eliminate, if this is what everybody thinks, then this.
I mean, you're the client, so you can tell them, if they want to come down and meet clients and meet department heads, you could say no. You could say yes, or you could come to a middle ground with what you want them to do. I just don't want to get a big bill racked up for meeting with departments that don't need to be met with.
There's no sense in going with these right here. I mean,
No.
there's just no reason. So what I need to do is go through and figure out what we got basically left, and have them sit down with the department heads on that side.
Look at your,
Just take the top 5.
yeah, top 5, that sounds like a winner to me.
I will call Dan on the morning.
I like Martha's suggestion of the levied funds, just because
Oh, yeah,
that would
yeah.
give us the big picture.
On the levies. Well, there's another thing going on there, and I read that email today, and I read the email today, this afternoon, because when you clarified, you got Jackie Clements also working on this, on the levies.
Yes, and I sent them her copy of what she has so far, what we put together and come up with. And there are some funds that have more than enough money in their balance to fund them for 25 and up to 20, fund the rest of 25, fund all of 26, and even a portion of 27 that we are going to make suggestions on moving their levies so that they use up some of that, but that, you know, they don't have it
Still
to go.
don't, right, they
You know.
can't be able to sustain themselves.
Right, that they're still sustainable, and we can each year, as we look at what they have and what their requests are, we can move those. And if they need to be upped, we can up them. If we can get county general online, you know, we can give them a portion of that. But that is what we're looking at.
I have a question. How much is the cost on that, and where is that funding coming from?
For Jackie?
Yes.
It's out of professional fees, out of the commissioner's budget.
How much is it?
Roughly $6,000, I think. I haven't looked at the bill lately to remember. But she has been invaluable in getting everything together for Gateway. There's a lot of steps that we have to follow to get these budgets in Gateway, to get get DLGF and to look at all of this. You would be amazed.
Is she still coming in to address council?
Yes, she's coming September 18th to address the council.
September 18th, okay. I told Martha this the other day, and I'm gonna stick with my guns. I want a meeting set up with her prior to that.
I told her that, she's fine with that.
I
To
want
clarify, personal meeting, not an executive session.
a personal
not a-
meeting.
Okay.
It'll be with, myself, Martha, you, Scott.
It'll be a phone conversation,
Yeah, it'll be a phone call, that's
because
fine.
she is very busy.
Because I know what happened 2 years ago with that, and I will not allow that to happen again.
Once we talk about levies and readjusting things and those funds that are able to sustain themselves, this is where capital projects plan for the county would be very useful, because there are large expenditures that some of those funds may have upcoming. So if council is aware of those and they do get more money in their levy than what it appears they're budgeting for, I think we need to plan out as much as possible.
On the CIP one.
You got something?
Of course, you got Temple Bruce, they come from commissioners usually.
Well,
I mean,
we can spend money with a consulting firm, and they could do that, or we could just start a spreadsheet. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything real fancy to start with. If we get through this budget cycle and get this settled, and then we start asking department heads, what expenditures do you have coming up? Like Amy sitting in the back there, she told us about the voting machines.
I know the CIP plans right now with trustees is, I think we finally got to the bottom of it though. And that, they are all off of the next agenda. It started out, they were on the agenda because they hadn't had a signature, and then they figured out they didn't have to have a signature, so I gave them the option. I pulled them, they show up, they want to have that right, but.
They're all at conference.
Yeah, but
That's the
there's no
big of
change.
their conference.
So the CIP plan is clear as mud. Still. But, well, I don't personally, but anyway. But I will call Dan tomorrow and talk to him, and I'll talk to you after, hey, on this one right here. And then if there's no questions on Baker Tilly, then we're gonna go into recess until September 16th at 4:30.
See you then.
We're recessed.